Sam and I are sitting down, having a show. Our boy John's going to sit in for a little bit, give us the what's what in that perspective lane. We're Almost in Agreement, almostagreement@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. You can go to our website, almostagreement.com. Check out all the cool stuff that we got going on in there. Don't forget, Hollaroo 24 is upon us. Hollaroo.co or happyhollerfest.com. Check out the details there. It is going to be a soapbox derby race, a street fair, and a concert. So if you're into free entertainment in the near downtown area, April 13th in Happy Holler, we're going to shut the road down and have a great day. Lots of stuff to talk about. We're going to do a show. Here we go, everybody. Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Hi.
Hey.
Sam, what's new? What's different? What's the world changing like for you?
Well, it's another day of the week.
Another day of the week? It's not just another day of the week. It's podcast day.
World's still spinning.
It's the best day of the week.
True.
Oh, yeah, there's John guy here. Hey, John, what's up, buddy?
Not much, just school. I have learned some pretty cool things.
I know I had to relearn how to divide fractions.
What?
I mean, it's important. You should always remember it.
I mean, yeah, dividing fractions is cool. Can I tell you something that I wasn't completely taught in school, but is something that is actually kind of true? At least I believe so.
Okay.
So, it is the reason why America has the metric system. I believe it's because, like, a while ago, a boat sank carrying the, metric weights and stuff. So
we didn't get them in time? And so we just went ahead and stuck with the
apparently
imperial pound system?
Yeah, that's what I saw. But
I'd believe it. I don't know that. That'd be an interesting thing to dig into.
Yeah, I don't know.
We are one of, 3 nations in the world that aren't based on the metric system?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
We like to do complicated math.
How did you survive without your phone for half the day yesterday? He was at school. It didn't count for him. Did you have no issue? You had no outage? You were good?
No, that was just AT&T. I don't have
Wait,
AT&T.
we had an outage.
It was more than AT&T, I thought.
No, all I read was AT&T.
I thought it was AT&T Towers, and anybody who got service off AT&T Towers, whether it's AT&T or not.
My phone was working fine all day.
I don't know. It was funny. I didn't know what was going on. I saw a sheriff's office did a post about it, asking, said something about how, we've got reports of some phone outages or whatever. Check in if you can. And there's a bunch of people commenting like their service and whether they had it or not.
How do you think they got service?
And I was like,
well, I guess they could have gotten Wi-Fi or something.
Well, and I was thinking I didn't catch, I didn't understand it, and I was just going about my day, and I take the kids to school, do that whole thing, and then when I got to work and I got on my work Wi-Fi, the phone blew up.
Nah.
Weird.
Not weird, just it just happened. I guess it's never happened to my recollection without a power outage.
Yeah, makes sense.
We randomly had networks go down. I think it's generally been more localized. I don't know, but I think this was
the nationwide. It was that Russian space nuke. You heard that story?
Yeah,
that's a pretty funny story.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like they're going to drop it from space on New York City. It's just to go blow up other satellites and stuff.
Well, it's not even something they already have. It's just technology that they have.
Right.
But
apparently, there was some report that I heard about today or whatever that it is as defined by the non-nuclear proliferation treaty or whatever from 1987 or something like that. It would be a violation of that, and so they're not planning on launching it, at least not publicly.
I'm not sure, because I'm sure there's some kind of weird caveat, anywhere on Earth, and it's that's technically outside of Earth's orbit. So you don't control space. NASA does.
It could be a music, one of the music contracts. You heard about that? A lot of music contracts from back in the day would be we own the rights to this song for a given period of time, and it says something about how in and beyond the galaxy as we know it, or something like that.
No.
It's a really crazy, like, little caveat in some of these music contracts. Anyway, John, what's up? What's actually, let me ask you a question, because this is a new humorous one to me. Have you been taught how to fill out an envelope to mail a letter?
No.
Okay, so you don't know how to do that.
No, not really. And I actually kind of expected that, because from what I've seen, schools mainly teach you about the subjects and not much else that they have. But,
okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't know what subject letter writing would go under. I mean,
Yeah.
English.
I'd say reading,
but that would be
yeah.
about writing the letter, not about the sending and the functional part of making it happen, other than writing the words.
Right. I don't remember exactly when I learned it. I want to say it was somewhere in elementary school.
I mean, we pen palled. I remember pen palling with a
I have
Desert Storm guy
I used to have a pen pal.
in 3rd or 4th grade.
Last year, I had a pen pal.
How did you communicate with your pen pal?
So we didn't really communicate like basically we would write well, it was either write or type, I forgot, but we would write words and stuff. We would write stuff like whatever the teachers say, and then the teachers would send it, and then like 4 months later at least we would get another note, and I only got one from my pen pal, so yeah.
Yeah. I remember doing that too, and not having. I remember the guy sent me a bunch of shells, though. That was cool. A bunch of 50 cal shells. Whole box full.
I thought you meant shells from the ocean, not like
gun shells, bullets.
Shells. Yeah.
Yeah.
As well as yesterday, I was having science, and we learned about if you put vinegar in baking soda, but like a lot of it, and then you trap air inside of it, and if it's either glass or plastic or anything like that, and then you shake it, it will most likely pop, but the glass will explode.
If you get enough pressure there, sure.
Yeah.
There is a line where it is. There's a. I don't know. What's the word for that? I don't know the word.
Pressure.
I know what pressure is, but a container has a breaking point, and at a certain amount of pressure, it will break. There's a word for that.
Yeah, as well as
the explosion point or something of that nature.
As well as Tuesday, we learned a tiny bit about mustard gas, but mainly about like acids. And there was like.
Wait, you guys, hold on, time out. You guys made mustard gas at school?
No.
I mean, that's against the Geneva Convention. That's an international. That breaks international
we didn't
law.
Make mustard.
Not that international law means anything, but
we didn't make mustard gas. The teacher.
How do you make mustard gas on accident?
We didn't make mustard.
I know, but you almost did on accident. And how did you know you almost did? That's what I'm trying to get to.
I didn't almost.
Did I just imagine you saying we almost made mustard gas on accident?
So we talked about it.
Yeah, so like the teacher barely talked about it. That's what I said.
Did she teach you how to make mustard gas?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, but
open up your ears.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Let's back up. Let me back up and see if I understand correctly.
No, you already didn't understand correctly.
Why, in the conversation about whatever you were doing in science class, did mustard gas come up?
It's because we were talking about acids, and one acid, forgot what it was called, but it produced a red gas when it was put on pennies, and it turned the pennies green. And then the teacher just talked a bit about mustard gas and how it was kind of like that gas, I think. But yeah, because on Tuesday we learned about 4 gases. I forgot the name of one of them. There were 2 like high gases, which were like ones you can't really get unless you're a trained professional, or because like the hard ones you can't get them. Like how I just said, I just forgot everything. And that was sulfuric acid, and then the one that created red gas, and then there was 2 acids that that were like non-lethal that we use mainly, and it was vinegar and lemon juice.
Yep, lemon juice will do it. Citric acid?
Yeah, citric acid and I forgot.
Yeah, what is it? What's mustard gas is what? Bleach and ammonia?
What?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just taught you how to make mustard gas. I'm better than your science teacher. What?
What? I'm probably never gonna make that.
I don't know
unless I go into like World War III, I'm not gonna make that.
I accidentally made mustard gas once,
What?
and I was trying to clean up a bathroom at a bar that I used to work at that people don't bother hitting the toilet at all, and so I poured some bleach on the floor to let it, like, you know, kind of disinfect the surface, and it got a little painfully odory, like the odor, like the combined odor or whatever, got a little painful. So I just closed the door and turned the fan on and let it simmer for a little while. So I learned how to make mustard gas the hard way.
I think you made mustard gas just by pouring bleach on the floor.
There was a lot of ammonia on the floor. Is all I was trying to say.
It's just chlorine. No ammonia and bleach.
What is P? What's the main ingredient in urine?
Urea?
Pretty sure it's very close functionally to ammonia. Anyway, doesn't matter. I made some concoction with urine and bleach, and it stank bad. And I thought it was mustard gas. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
We already said we don't know what exactly.
I don't. Yeah. All right. I didn't teach a kid how to make mustard gas on a published radio show, so that's good.
Yeah. As well as I don't know the exact specifics of how it works, but I kind of know how nukes work, because a nuke, how it makes the big explosion is somehow, I don't know how, but it splits an atom, I think.
And they go boom.
Yeah.
It starts a chain reaction.
Big boom.
Yep. So not this coming week, but the following week, you get school out on Tuesday for no good reason.
Yeah. Probably because on Monday, because like the teacher, they were saying something about like, hey, if we have to go to school this day, hey, then we're probably gonna like not have to go to school random day, I'm assuming.
No, that was this last Monday. You guys
Tuesday.
went on President's Day, which is supposed to be a holiday.
Yeah.
You guys went on President's Day because they wanted to put a cushion day back in for weather, because we spent all our weather days already.
Yeah.
But no, not next week, but the following week. Tuesday is primary election day. It is what we call Super Tuesday.
And then
Who are you voting for?
who are the options?
There's a lot. Actually, I'd have to pull up our specific ballot.
And who are you voting for?
I don't know. I got to figure out which primary I want to pull. First of all, I'll probably pull the Republican primary, because then I can vote for the Republican presidential primary, which is basically Nikki Haley or Donald Trump. And then we've got a couple. County Commission District 4 has a primary that I'll get to choose from. We've got a property assessor primary.
What?
Then we've got a law director primary. Those are pretty big ones to me. Daniel Herrera. We'll talk about more of that later, but there's some stuff wrong with that. So anyway, last call, friend. You got anything else before you skedaddle and get back to your things?
Not really. I mean, it's fun being on the show as always.
It's always fun to have you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Oh, do you want me to get a big?
Yeah, go hit his door. I told him I'd give him about 1 minute, and if he's not back down here, then we're going to go on without him.
Okay, I'll go get him.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
All right, the other kid's busy. He's making his fortune battling mutants or something like he said. I don't think he's playing right now. I think he's playing one of his fighting games, but not Gran Turismo. Need for Speed. He was talking about at dinner. He's like, can't wait to get out. And there might be some competitive Need for Speed or whatever, but he's playing Need for Speed. I was like, your boy Sam's a big Need for Speed fan.
I used to be.
And I played my best old man joke I think I've done in a while.
Uh-oh.
He's like, what's he played on? I was like, he's got one of those play boxes, the Playbox 32,
Playbox Cube.
Yeah. Or the
Playbox Cube 180.
The X Station 360. He's like, he's probably got a PlayStation 5 or whatever. It's like, yeah, I don't know. He's got something. Crud. So, yeah.
Neat.
On your play Playbox 360. Like, it's so hard for me to say it wrong. I have to say it super slow. So I don't know. There's lots of little ins and outs and do's and what's going on this week. On the super local front top stuff. Bob Booker, are you familiar with that character?
Passed recently, and I saw the name, but I'm not quite.
I didn't know much about it. I'm going to completely defer all knowledge to the Compass guys when they were talking about it today. I mean, he's just an old school black guy from Knoxville who has been very active in like the actual old school civil rights movement. Apparently, there's a good mugshot of him floating around on the internet from when he got arrested for a sit-in and on one of the Gay Street diners or something like that back in the day. And then he became very active in like local black history insofar as like he's not a historian by trade, but nobody really filled that gap, and so he kind of stepped into that. So like when you get into some of the other Knoxville historian people that like to look and talk and review and all that kind of stuff, he was always the go-to guy for any of the black history stuff. Like apparently his mom's house when he was a kid is where the Civic is now.
Wow.
And so that was probably the most interesting thing the Compass guys are talking about him is like a few years back when the Civic was like, there's big conversation about whether they're going to tear down the Civic or spend a bunch of money remodeling it and stuff like that. A lot of people figured he'd be like, yeah, tear it down because that used to be my house, but I want my house back. I want my neighborhood back or whatever. And his take was like, hey, you tore down my house for this thing. Make it nice.
Right. Yeah.
We can argue about whether or not you should or shouldn't have, but that ship has sailed. But that is what happened. And so if the reason you tore down my house was to put this nice Civic object in place, then take care of it. I was like, damn, that's pretty tight.
I like that.
Super tight. Early voting's going on. It's less than the 2020 so far. So we're looking at maybe 25% of the populace is going to bother with this primary. The registered voting populace, that is.
I think most people didn't realize it's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I didn't realize it had already started.
It's hard not to. Only have one right here. I got a whole pile over there that I've gotten already. Apparently, I don't know why.
I'm getting a fucking text, damn near at least one or two a day.
I got a Herrera text and I got a Garrett Holt text.
Our local, mine's all national politics.
Oh, see, I don't get any of those.
It's like, Obama's making the call out, or please don't delete. Are you going to support blah blah blah?
On the Garrett Holt one, I replied more, trying to get him to give me more text of stupid shit that I don't really care about.
Please add me to more of your mailing list. Yeah,
I just think it's it cracks me up. I don't know. I don't understand it. I get it on a data driven level. If you're a data hawk for the local Republicans and you're looking at this person votes in primaries, they vote often in Republican primaries, but their voting record is this, and for whatever reason that the other data stuff that Matt was telling us about, that they pool all this different data together and buy it from these different companies and stuff like that, I could see how I'm a good target for ads. Because I do vote, but I don't vote consistently. I'm a winnable voter per se.
You're voting more than the majority,
right? But in their eyes, I'm a voter they can convince to vote for them. But especially with people I've actually talked to, who I've met in the flesh, I don't think they would think that any of these flyers or text messages are something that's going to land with me to get me to make that decision. Like Herrera, I'm not voting for Herrera because he's retarded. I can't bring myself to it. The more I don't like Book. I've bitched about Book for 4 years on this show. I really don't like Book.
Is that how his name is pronounced?
Yeah.
Have we been saying it wrong the whole time?
Buck.
Yeah.
No, it's Book.
Gotcha.
It's 2 U's, but it makes a 2-O sound. But not this. Is it on this one? On the text message he sent today that I forwarded to you. Let me find it so I can quote it correctly. Daniel Herrera, conservative Republican, early voting this time, and illegal immigration. That is just as bad, or worse even to me, than if he said something about running on schools.
Yeah.
That is what that is. That is, hey, you're a fucking idiot and don't know any better. And if you're dumb enough to think that my office can stop immigrants from coming to town, then vote for me. And that's my, it's insulting, I guess. That is insulting to me. Like, and that's what I was kind of getting at with the data. Like, if you had the data, you should put a checkbox by my name that says, don't waste your money on this guy, because the bullshit that works on the masses isn't going to help you with this guy. Like, actually, that in and of itself solidified my I will not vote for Herrera.
Well, we have the home rule. Could we declare ourselves a sanctuary city or whatever? I know there's still weird, like, gray area legalities of that, but
I don't know.
Since we have that weird kind of home rule thing where we can kind of make our own rules compared to the state.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no.
Yeah. Still, I agree.
You know,
it's blowing a dog whistle. That's
for sure. Like, I mean, you know, we have the 287G program that the sheriff's office participates in, and the sheriff's office has gotten in some legal trouble, some lawsuits and stuff over that, and Herrera is at minimum signaling that he will do his best to defend. But that's the job anyway. It's your job to defend the sheriff's office and their policy, whether you agree with them or not.
True.
So your political stance on this issue has nothing to do with your ability to fulfill your duties in defending the sheriff's office, whether their policy is like, it's not like if Jackson Fennerer, who's the Democrat running, if he somehow wins this race, he's going to go, well, I'm not going to defend the sheriff's office because I don't agree with their policy. He doesn't have the right to do that. That is not his job. He is obliged to defend the sheriff even if he doesn't agree with him.
Right.
So it's like a two-part, like, you're an idiot, kick you in the face. So anyway, I've made my decision on that primary. I hate Book, whatever. I don't like that guy. I think he already does it. Like, I think he already does. Like, he is the reason why I don't think we should elect that position. And as we've talked about 1,000 times in this show, I'm a fan of electing a lot of people and as many people as possible. But that job, it doesn't make sense. Because his job isn't to answer to me and you. His job is to answer to commission, the mayor's office, and the county offices at large. That's his job. That's who he answers to. His job is when the county commission says, hey, we want to do this thing. Is this legal? What will be the legal justification? Does this fit within our charter? Is this something that at state or federal level we can or can't do because of our this, that, and the other? That's the job. The job isn't, hey, I'm a constituent here in Knox County. What is my legal standing on this particular issue? He's not going to answer that question. He's not my lawyer. He doesn't work for me. He works for my elected bodies.
I mean, maybe he kind of works for the county in a roundabout way as far as the constituents of the county. In that if, I guess, maybe some outside entity was suing the city or the commission for whatever, and that he's kind of representing them that are representing us.
Right, but he's still repping them first. Like,
right.
No matter how you slice it, he's like, again,
he's repping our representatives, but
right, but we elect them,
right,
already. So he's a redundancy. Like, he shouldn't. He doesn't have the legal authority to not represent them if they need it. He has to, because it could, he works for me because I elect him. Well, I don't want you to defend county commission on this issue. I want county commission to lose their ass off because that issue is bullshit and they shouldn't be doing that. And I elected you, so don't defend them on that. It's like, no, it's not. That's not how it's working. And so, anyway, Herrera's not getting my vote. That's the moral of that story. Plus, he's like fucking 12, and realistically, the more I understand what it actually is, the job is to know the law well enough to be able to advise these bodies.
Right.
And Herrera's been practicing for 3 years. And where did he come from? I think
LMU?
No, he's not local. He moved to Knoxville like 6 years ago.
I thought maybe he went to law school here.
He might have come here for law school, but because I remember when I interviewed him, for when he was running for county chair, I remember it was I made some sort of joke about what's the deal with these Republican Party chairs all coming from out of state, because Randy Pace's predecessor is from Jersey.
Yeah. And
I want to say he was from somewhere up that northeast as well. That's my memory of it. I'd have to go back and check the record on that, but I want to say he's from like Philadelphia or Virginia or something.
Just hearing him speak, I didn't care for him, but that's just a personal thing.
Yeah, I don't. And so, property assessor one, we've got these two people whom I don't know. Again, what reference I have on it. That's a job that only thing that makes sense is somebody who has experience in the job, and both people have experience in the job. One is a former property assessor because it's a cycle like the sheriff's office is. You can do 2 consecutive terms, but you have to take a term off before you can run again. And so the dude running, which I forgot his name, he was the former property assessor before Mr. Whitehead, who was the current. Mr. Whitehead is termed out. And then the lady is Mr. Whitehead's executive assistant. So she's the highest ranking employee of his office and has been his top secretary or whatever the title is for the last couple of years. And so the thought is that the office is already used to working for her, so it'll be an easier, safer, simpler transition. Although dude's argument is, it took 5 years to do this last property assessment, and it shouldn't take that long. And they fucked that up.
Touche.
Not a bad argument. But yeah, I guess I'm going to pull the Republican primary it's the only thing that makes sense for my seats. Like, there is no Democratic primary in anything that I can do. I could pull the Democratic primary just so I can vote non-committed on the presidential for Biden. Uncommitted or unconfirmed. Have you heard the Michigan thing with Rashid?
I thought that was Nevada.
No, Nevada was the anybody else for
anybody but
Nikki Haley. No, Michigan has a campaign right. Well, there was a Connecticut or New Hampshire had one where it was a write-in something. I think it was write-in ceasefire campaign from the Democrats saying, Biden wasn't even on the ballot there because of the process with the way the party moved their shit around. And so the campaign was write-in ceasefire to try to get the point across that we want this Israel thing to stop. And there's a similar one going on in Michigan right now that Rashida? Or Ilhan Omar? No. Rashida Tlaib. Fuck, I might be, whatever. But she is a rep from that state, member of the squad, who is encouraging people to vote uncommitted on their Democratic primary to try to make a point.
No, Omar is from Minnesota.
Okay, then it's Tlaib. But they're trying to get, because, apparently I didn't realize this. I'm not surprised, but I'm not upset or disappointed or anything. It's just, apparently there's a huge Muslim population in Michigan.
Yeah.
And a lot of Muslims aren't too happy about what's going on in the Middle East right now.
I think Dearborn is like one of the highest concentrations.
The Dearborn. I've listened to an interview with the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan,
yeah,
whom is also on this uncommitted campaign where it's like, check the box. I'm checking the box uncommitted. It's not like when Biden wins the primary, I'm not going to vote for him when it comes down to Biden or Trump. But Biden and the Democrats need to understand that our current stance at Israel is not okay, and that's why I'm checking uncommitted.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of this campaign. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out per se. But for our end here, it's like this is the most for the seats that are at play for me, the election is Wednesday or not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. Realistically, the property assessor, I don't think Jackson Finner has a shot. He's a Democrat running countywide. Those don't win. It's just a reality. Yeah, although I'll probably vote for him when it comes down to it because I don't like Book. I don't know Jackson either, but he's not Book and he's not Herrera, so he's a win. He's not. He can't be as bad because I don't know how bad he is, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I do want to talk to him though. I think it'd be interesting because he ran last time too. This is his second run at this seat. And so those three races, and then the presidential primary, which really doesn't matter. We're in Tennessee. It's a Trump's winning this primary, walking away.
Kanye did pretty good last time.
Yeah, Kanye's not running this time though.
Yeah,
I'm thinking Kanye's political career is trying to run its course. I'm interested, on the national stage. On the national stage, what's up with the Kennedy race as well as the what's his face? Why do I keep forgetting his name? Anyway, the two Cornel West, yeah, because I'd forgotten about him. They'd stopped talking. I hadn't heard about him in a little while, and it came back up a couple days ago when I was listening to one of my Breaking Point show.
Yeah,
so Cornel West is still trying to go through. He's going through all the process to try to get on all the 50 states ballots. That's one of Kennedy's issues too. That's what we talked about last week, and why the conversation, at least, about him trying to pull in the Libertarian VP just to get on the ballot. Like I said last week, it's like I'm as a libertarian. Actually, I don't know if I ever got to it. Like as a person who leans libertarian, I'm kind of down for it just to underscore the third party possibility, because it theoretically should. It's not like Kennedy's going to win. Maybe. I mean, but even if he did, for the Libertarian Party, it'd be a huge win, even though he's not really a libertarian, because it would make the third party a reality instead of this kind of dream world that we're currently in. Even though it's a bad version of this particular third party, it still makes the third party a reality. Because you got to think that even if, I mean, it just opens like. I mean, like I said, I think that was what was so good about the Super Bowl ad. Didn't say anything about policy or anything important. It just said, "I'm a Kennedy, and you're allowed to vote for an independent." Like independents are a real thing. They're not. It's not just this weird little like what was her name? Sherry Garrett running for school board a couple of years ago tried to tell me that if you're running as independent, you're hiding something. What? Like she told me that. And I was like, please explain. And like she was an idiot, and I don't really feel bad for calling her an idiot either. But it's like I don't think she came up with that idea necessarily on her own, or if she did, how does it didn't even make sense to me. It was such a foreign concept. So I don't want to carry a certain label means I'm hiding something.
Which means you're non-committal.
Yes, and I was like, I'm like, it's like, well, you should like in her mind and in Sherry Garrett's mind is that there was no other. There's only black or white. There was only red or blue.
You can't be a flip-flopper.
That if you're an independent, you're one sometimes, you're the other sometimes, which means you're neither. And you're hiding something because you're whatever policy. Yeah. Mayor Jacobs was at the border. That was last week. Was that this week? I feel like we talked about him last week doing some weird publicity stunt.
I think you mentioned he went down to Texas.
Yeah, he did he went down with Haggerty and came back and did a presser in Nashville. And a bunch of people got all bent out of shape. And Jesse made a good point on their show. It's a little bit of a stretch. And coming out of Jesse's mouth makes it a little bit less of a ridiculous stretch, though, is that Governor Lee has discussed in public conversations with Mr. Abbott from Texas about sending Tennessee National Guard down to help out with their border issue. And over a quarter of the Tennessee National Guard operates out of Knox County.
Yeah, I can see it.
And so, directly as a constituent issue, I could see that. Because, I mean, it's not like he can say no if Governor Lee says, I'm sending the Guard down.
Right.
But he could protest. He could say, hey, I went down there. That's a bad idea. I checked it out. It's plausible. It's real. Like I said, I mean, he's running for. He's gonna try to take Lee's seat when Lee retires in the next cycle.
Yeah, I saw some show that was interviewing some people that had gone down to Texas to see for themselves what was going on with people. They're all throughout the U.S. and went down to the border. And they went interview them well, what'd you think? They're like, it's not what I thought. I guess they thought that they were just going to see people jumping fences left and right and just massive amounts of migrants hanging out in parks, just waiting to go somewhere or whatever. Or a whole busload of them at the bus stop waiting to get transferred out.
Well, I mean, the thing is,
they just went out there thinking they were going to stop it or see for themselves, and they're like, wait, there's nothing really going on. Which they've said in the past month or two that numbers have plummeted compared to.
I mean, the thing is,
late last year.
The thing about it's border policy. It's not about it. It's the asylum policy is really what everything about the border crisis is. We have an asylum policy that says, hey, you can come and if you set foot on American soil, you're guaranteed due process, and part of that due process is if you're seeking asylum, you will have a case. And we have millions of people coming trying to seek asylum and taking years for their case,
right? For
their court date,
right? There are some people now they're
often,
I got 2028 and 2029 is when I'm supposed to come back for my court case.
Right, and at least under current policy, they're allowed to stay here. And work is an issue, and whether they're legally allowed to work while they're here waiting for their whatever. It's just that's where all the policy gets all wonky. Absolutely, no doubt. There's cartel people sneaking just people in and drugs and whatever.
Right.
They're coming here and they're buying guns. And then they're going down there and they're killing people and stealing stuff and selling their guns and then bringing the drugs and other people back up. They buy their guns here. all the guns in Mexico came from the United States. Guarantee it. Or they were traded by the CIA for drugs and stuff like that in the past.
Most of the illegal goods actually comes through ports of entry, whether by truck, boat, plane, etc.
I would say now too, but
it's just drug mules hoofing it over the border.
Oh, yeah, I mean, United States Postal Service moves more drugs than the cartels do.
Yeah,
by far.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You put a lot on a truck. But...
Yeah, but you take one box.
Postage ain't cheap.
Yeah, but enough boxes will fill a truck pretty quick. And you just have one box on 50 different trucks, and then you have one truck combined. It doesn't matter.
Stop giving them ideas. It's funny to watch some of those like the border like reality TV shows and just the inventiveness that talk to some like the border agents of trying to stay like a step
talking
ahead.
To a prison guard about how what these guys will figure out how to build shivs out of.
Yeah,
it's just like when you got time and desire, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
What's the old phrase? Necessity is the mother of invention. Is that what it is?
Wow.
Yeah, so it is. Like you have a necessity to figure out how to do something about your situation. You'll make something cool up.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting. I don't know. Like it's to say like like a lot of people are dogging on Jacobs following it up after him being gone for the storm and stuff like that. And it's like you think maybe if you're the mayor of the third most populous area in Tennessee, you might hang out in your jurisdiction for most of the time or whatever.
Like, I want to say it was a.
Apparently, he was on record as saying that he paid for that trip to Texas.
Cool.
And or the trip. I don't know about the trip to Iowa, but he said that he did not spend Knox County taxes on his trip to Texas.
Okay.
I mean, it's a distinction worth saying. I'm sorry.
I guess, yeah.
Anyway,
one less thing to criticize him for the trip. It's like, well, you criticize me for going, but it didn't cost you guys anything. Like, we still paid you for the day, right? Yeah.
I mean, he gets his salary.
I know.
You get ready to say something when I interrupted about that.
Yeah, I can't recall. It escapes me now.
I don't know.
Thanks for interrupting.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I
don't think it was anything too important.
Trying to figure out if I heard this correctly. Yeah, that's him for sure. The quote of the week.
Hey, where was this from?
U.S. Representative Andy Ogles, representing the 5th District of Tennessee, which I assume sounds like a Nashville. It's got to be Middle Tennessee somewhere, maybe between here and Nashville. U.S. Congressional Districts. Oof, not a good map, comptroller. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ogles is Murray County, Lewis County, Marshall County. I think Waverly's in there.
I remember what it was. Sorry.
Wilson, Davidson, a little bit of Nashville. Man, tell me that's not gerrymandering right there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Davidson County is perfectly split between 3 reps, 6, 7, and 5. Anyway, Andy Ogles from the wise and wonderful Middle Tennessee, U.S. Congressman, was on record saying, in reference to the dying children in Palestine, that we should kill them all. Or bomb them all. I don't remember exactly which one of the two.
Where was he saying this?
It was on the way in or out of something, and it was people yelling at him, and it was some lady yelling about, have you seen the torn up children? And he responds, we should kill them all. Would that make you happy? I think is what he said. It could have been a trolly thing. He could have been trying to troll it or whatever, which either way, it doesn't really matter. Even if he was joking in a very terrible, dark way, it's
still got to be careful with your words in that position.
Yeah. I Actually, I don't know. That might not be my quote of the week, though. The Supreme Court of Alabama judge one's a pretty good one, too.
That was kind of fun.
Quoting the Bible about eggs being babies.
Well, they quoted the Bible, and he just said it would incur the wrath of God.
I've seen some funny memes on it. They're wrong. They're incorrect memes. Like, they're functionally incorrect. It's weird to me because, like, do you know the case that this was about?
Vaguely, yeah.
I understand. Like,
families of a fertility clinic that either like lost or accidentally damaged.
Yeah, they lost
their.
It was either it was either an employee mishandled and burnt their fingers. Freezer burnt their fingers on the container or whatever and dropped it and broke it and therefore killed it. But somewhere in my head for a second I thought it was somebody who was trying to steal some shit. And freezer burnt themselves and dropped it and broke it. They dropped it and broke it either way. So the lawsuit is was these couples against the fertility clinic.
Yeah, it was like two
for mishandling
couples.
Their children, air quotes.
Right.
And it's like, well, I don't know.
I don't think that was the outcome they intended. Like they just wanted there to be some kind of
there is some
accountability.
The question is, and this goes into some deep legal weeds, which our resident
attorney.
That
was the thing that it wasn't really considered it's not really property per se. I mean, it's kind of in that weird little gray area of what is this considered.
I mean, yeah, but I agree, but that would how to go from,
because I guess there was no precedent or there was no. I guess the illegal precedent.
It is weird because it's weird because I know in most states, and I don't know if it's federal law or if it's just most states have the same law in it. I know surgical byproduct and stuff like that. Like if they cut out your liver or they biopsy a chunk of your liver, you don't have any rights to it at all as the person. Regardless, they cut anything out of your body if you go into surgery for something.
Right.
There's people that talk about eating their placentas after birth or whatever, stuff like that. I'm sure you could
planting it.
Right. I'm sure you could, whatever. I'm sure you could ask for it and they can give it to you functionally.
Right.
But there's
no obligation.
They don't, right. You have to ask for it. It's not yours.
Right.
And I was thinking about this. I didn't take it with no. Yeah. I got a tooth pulled. Technically, that is property of the dentist's office. I mean, they can give it to me, but I have to ask for it. I have no rights to it once they take it out of my mouth, which seems a little weird to me.
It's like finders keepers. It's mine now.
I mean, it just seems a little weird to me because there have been some cases that have kind of plopped up here and there for where they've taken a tumor out. There's a story from it's the 60s. I don't remember the details of it, but it's this old black lady had some type of cancer.
Yeah, Henrietta Lacks.
Yeah, and they removed it, and that cancer cell became the base for a whole bunch of treatments.
HeLa cells.
Billions of dollars in revenue, and she gets nothing.
I think she had already passed, but yeah, her family.
Right, and it's okay.
Her family even now is trying to get some kind of recognition or...
part of me is okay, I get it. It's unlikely that she asked for it back at the time or that there's any sort of I don't know. I just feel that just feels dirty to me, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. If you I go in to get a surgery because I have a lump or something and you take that lump out and then you go poke at that lump and you discover my lump is super special and neat and does something crazy cool. I would at least be morally reasonable for you to compensate me if you're going to make $1 trillion off of some of my cells.
Let's say it's either cells or cancerous cells to this day are still replicating.
Yeah.
So they've been able to just kind of generation after generation of the same person's cells.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. Whatever her particular cancer was so aggressive, and they keep it alive and they take chunks off and they send it to labs to test on.
Yeah, something like that.
That's what it was. But it is the standard. First run, if you've got a medication or if you've got a protocol that you want to do for whatever type of cancer it was, you get one of hers. But this company is, I don't know. It just seems a little wonky to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure which one. I did see a bunch of, we had breakfast for dinner, so I killed 6 babies tonight, according to Alabama law.
Yeah.
Not so. I mean,
it's already hitting the national stage, and everybody's picking their sides on it. Kind of funny and silly.
I don't know.
But it's also kind of kicked up the separation of church and state kind of storm as well.
Yeah, there's a couple different times. That's, yeah. I acknowledge in this particular case, I don't know. That's the question to me. The question to me is that, was this a way for this judge to give the family or to force the clinic or whatever to pay up? Was that the way he thought he could get there, as opposed to saying, well, you destroyed their property? Because I get it. Like from the couple's perspective, it's more than just property.
Right.
But it's certainly not a person. And so, I understand there's a fine line there, and maybe this was the judge, trying to be holier than thou in the situation, be like, you're right, it is more than just property. But it should be considered, personally, I think it should be considered, it's destruction of property. Because that's not a cheap or inexpensive process anyway.
No.
And the concern is what it does to the long term of that process.
Right.
Because
99% of IVF procedures are never accomplished the first go around. Like, these are already typically for couples that already have issues.
Right. It basically makes it impossible to it makes it. And the other part of this one too is that it was a civil case. It's not criminal law that's being set by this. It's not setting criminal precedent. It's setting civil precedent.
Right. But I think all of the IVF facilities in the state have pretty much stopped everything they're doing, because now they're like, shit. Like, we've got 50 million kids that we're liable for now. Like, we're not touching a damn thing.
Yeah, what do you do?
Make sure the freezer's running. Make sure we got backup generators and backups for those generators. Yeah. I did remember when we were talking about mayors, it was one of the surrounding counties that I saw some little snippet on the news that during that storm, like, he was out on his little Bobcat, like, clearing roads.
Oh, yeah. That was not Anderson.
Yeah, it wasn't Anderson, but yeah.
Was it Andersonville? The city of Andersonville? In Anderson County?
Possible.
Or it was up that way. It was up in the Tellico North on 75. I did see that one.
I was like, hey, that's a good example of what, a mayor or politician could be out there doing to literally help his community.
But that mayor in that town, his day job prior to being mayor was
probably some kind of business or construction.
He was he was some sort of groundskeeper or earth moving company. That's what he did, right. And he still owned the company.
Yeah, it was his personal,
right?
Whatever, skid steer or something it was.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Mayor Jacobs has one. He's got a big farm or something up there in Powell anyway, or
very possible.
Halls. Yeah.
So there was a fire in Halls yesterday. I saw something about. I didn't see the story until the story about it being 100% contained. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, the world's burning, bro. The world is burning. Yeah, that was that one. So there's a new law that went into effect last year that by the end of this year, if you own a business in the United States of America, you basically have to register with it's a subset within the FBI. It's the something digital crimes unit. You basically have to register your personal identity as attached to this business and its bank accounts. And it goes back to what we've talked about this the last couple of weeks. It's basically, in my opinion, it is basically an overreach of, if you want safety, if you want protection, if you want us to stop people from doing bad things, you have to let us know everything about everybody all the time. I don't know how else to interpret it. It's basically, and it goes back to one of my great conundrums of my life is, how do I say it's none of your fucking business? What's my argument other than it's none of your business? And that should be enough argument, but I can't articulate it any better or any more in depth than that.
Is your name not already tied to your business?
It is.
Okay.
But I have to submit my ID and my state. It's basically it's a full background check, like a set of documentation that has to be submitted to the federal government for me to legally own my business.
How was it a background check?
Because all the stuff that you would do, all the stuff that you have to, basically everything, if you've ever done a credit check.
Can you be denied the ownership of your business after filling out said form?
I don't know. That's not the point. I don't care.
Oh.
It has nothing to do with my ability to own the only reason let me rephrase that. Yes, I can be denied, like I can be significantly fined or lose the ability to operate my business if I don't do it. Now, could there be something they find when I register that could preclude me from? Maybe. What it's really doing, well, I mean, like maybe. What? Like I have some fraud in some other state somewhere that I have a known alias that did something somewhere else, and this ties that known alias to a place and a location and a way for them to find me.
Okay, sure.
I mean, that's the point of it. It's an anti-money laundering system is why it's in place. It's a fraud and money laundering protection system. Is what it's being told. It's why they're telling us we have to do it, or why the law was put in place in the first place.
I would like to see less money laundering.
Okay, I don't know if I care. What is money laundering again? Oh yeah, it's people not paying taxes. Usually they end up paying taxes. Money laundering is money laundering usually is paying taxes for something you didn't actually do as a way to show legitimate income as opposed to the illegal income that you got in the first place. Right?
It's taking illegal gains and
right,
turning that same sum of gains essentially, usually a little less because there's a fee. You got to pay that.
Right, and the taxes you're putting you're putting it on record so that you have to pay your income tax on it.
Yeah,
I don't know. If you're going to deal drugs, you can pay income tax too. I'm good with that. I would think. I mean, I don't see that as a problem.
Okay, cool. Money laundering's cool.
I mean,
we're good with it. Awesome.
I don't what is the crime of money laundering? What is it about? Like, what is its actual point? Like, I don't I'm not. And this is a real question.
No.
This isn't me advocating against it. This is a real question.
No, it's not. I don't see how you're playing this dumb.
I don't know what money other than the functional description that I just gave. As I understand what you do if you're trying to launder money, you're trying to take money that you got for some non-legal process and put it through something so that you can then actually own it and use it and it looks like you earned that money through work or trading funds or something like that.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. And so it's not that it's the way you got the money in the first place that's the criminal act, and this is your way to hide your criminal act. Is really what money laundering is, an additional crime to your original act, right? Is that what it is? This is a real question. Is that what it is? It's
generally on top of, yeah.
Because you always see you always see it in the movies, at least as I understand it. You always see it in the movies. It's like a drug dealer, mob boss kind of thing. Like Tony had the no-show job at the waste management company. That was his job he had, so that he got paid a whole bunch of money and didn't do any work.
Right.
And they didn't actually pay him, or they only paid him a little bit of what they said they were paying him, but at least when the IRS looked at him, it looked like, okay, this guy has a multi-million-dollar mansion in Jersey just outside of New York City.
Right.
His job lines up with he could afford that. Okay.
Right.
And so that was one of the money laundering schemes that he was in.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, if we are agreeing that is what money laundering is a crime on top of the original criminal act.
Yeah.
So that if the original criminal act, for certain cases, like if there was no original criminal act, then we wouldn't need money laundering.
Yeah, I guess.
Because if I could sell weed legally, I wouldn't need to fake a way to show that I made that money. And so then I wouldn't need to launder that money to get it back into flow.
Sure.
Right? I mean,
yeah, that's one way to look at it. Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So I'm working this out right now. I haven't put deep thought into this prior to now. I'm just trying to this goes, yeah, so it's just like
No, the wheels are turning. Yeah, if we didn't have all these illegal acts, then we wouldn't even have to worry about money laundering being a problem, right? Is that what you're trying to work towards?
Right, because money laundering isn't a problem. It's the illegal acts that they're doing to get the money that they need to launder.
No, money laundering is still an issue.
Why? Because it's covering up.
No, because you're essentially, I guess, creating false economics.
All right, let me think. If I could ask this question.
I mean, if you're doing money laundering on a large scale, that's a lot of, I guess, fake business that you are creating for the city, county, state, etc.
Is there? I'm going to regret saying this, but
is there a problem with that?
Is there a cost to the city, state, whatever, etc., for the bubble of business that you're creating by laundering the money in it? Is there some sort of city service that has to do extra work to make sure?
Yes. I mean, I don't know exactly how it all works, but I would say if the city thought that, I guess they would have record of that clean money coming in being paid as taxes. So let's say on paper they think they should have this much income coming in and taxes paid for whatever. But in actuality, they don't have that money. It just looks like they should have that money.
No, they would. I mean, they would have to. I mean, depending on how you did it. Like, City of Knoxville wouldn't get any money off of a money launderer because, well, I mean, it would and wouldn't. But it wouldn't in its main tax revenue of property tax unless you're laundering your money by buying property, but then you're going to have to pay property tax. Because that's your way to clean the money up, is to have a legitimate thing. And so that actually would increase revenues for the city.
Yeah, property tax is probably cheaper than capital gains tax or whatever.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I guess you are bypassing it. Like, if the assumption is you bought the property with a sale of a different property, those capital gains from that original property don't go into wherever they would have gone into. But the federal government's the only one that takes capital gains anyway. Maybe, I don't know, is there sales tax on land?
Don't know.
I mean, maybe
I would assume so. That's somehow some part of it.
Maybe you miss out on sales tax. The state would be missing out on sales tax for the assumed land sale. That is where you got your money to buy the property now, but that's a stretch. Because the state, I mean, you could have sold land in another state. You could have inherited it from your parents' death. It could have been 1,000 different ways you got the money to buy the piece of land. Yeah. Or you could be selling drugs on the side. There's lots of reasons you could have had the money. Like, I don't do this in jest, but I ask the question:
who's that hurt?
In the solo act of money laundering, who's the victim, or what is the victim? Because that's an option as well.
I'm not playing this game right now. I'm sorry.
It's not a game. This is a legitimate question to me. I don't see a victim.
I'm not playing this victim game right now. I'm sorry. Can we talk about something else?
Okay. I don't. It's
abstract of just who's the victim in this? Is this the state's not a person? If you do crimes against the state, that's not a person.
I acknowledge 100% that the state can be a victim.
Why? How could they be a victim?
I mean, depending on the specifics of the crime. If for example, I was to go and let's say that one. If I were to go and go out here to North Shore Drive, which is a state road, and take my pickaxe and just dunk big holes into North Shore Drive, which is a state road, the state is the victim. I've damaged their property. That's our property too. Okay. By definition, the state owns that piece of land and that piece of property, and I have damaged their property, and the state has the right to compensation for me damaging their things, especially intentionally. I acknowledge that as a functional truth in the way I look at things.
Okay.
I don't think I ever said the state couldn't be a victim.
That.
Have I ever said the state couldn't be a victim?
You've edged on it a couple times. in previous.
I mean, I'll edge on it
victim.
when it gets to like, because the state said so and you did something and that's how they get to claim victimhood. No, I don't agree with that. It's got to be a little more concrete than, well, we said you can't do that. So by doing the thing we said you can't do, we're the victim. It's like, no, that's not. I don't agree with that.
Okay, how did we go into this money laundering thing anyway?
Because I have to basically submit a background credit check with the federal government now in order to keep my business or to start a new one.
By their deadline?
End of the year. I mean, I just started a new business and my accounting company that helped me set the business up is like, oh, hey, by the way, you got to get this done. Might as well go ahead and get this done now. All new businesses are supposed to do it, and all existing businesses have to have it done by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And so I have to do it 3 times. And frankly, I don't think it's any of their fucking business, personally.
Cool. Get out of business then.
Okay, so then I can go work for the state, and I have to do my ID and credit check and everything for my income source from them, too. It doesn't change anything. I disagree.
Work for the state. Yeah, sure.
I disagree with the premise that the state... I disagree with the premise that the state has the right to force me to give them my personal information.
What information do they not already have on you just by having a business license?
Just because they have it means they can ask for more and get more detailed versions of it. I mean, everything, because to me, part of the problem to me is that they have found them, I find them to be a consistently untrustworthy in data protection. Like, just the federal government at large is not really great at data protection. And basically, I just put everything on.
Have they had a lot of data breaches or something? What are you talking about?
I mean, I believe they've had a good number of things get out, or people leaking stuff or taking things and selling them and doing shit like that, yeah. I believe they're a good target for those things, too, especially the more data they get. But I've literally just, if you're going to apply for a loan, just for your own sake, every piece of information you applied for a loan, I had to just give to the federal government. But you're right, they have it in parts and pieces all over the place anyway. But that doesn't mean I agreed with the fact that I had to give it to them the last 57 times I gave it to them. It's kind of not. I'm
just wondering if they're asking for anything extra.
Or I mean, they want a copy of my driver's license. That was kind of weird. I didn't like that. I mean, that was the only new item. But I mean, that's again, like you said, when you get a loan. I mean, literally, if you could get your hands on what I filled out,
you're making your case worse just by equating it to this would be the same stuff if I went into the bank and just applied for a loan.
No, I've made it very clear consistently that there's a different conversation when it's private or public. I don't necessarily agree with it on the private, but I'm agreeing to that. I am choosing to that agreement in order to get what I need from that individual or that entity, being the bank in this sake for the loan. Now, I disagree, and honestly, I would assume that part of the reason the banks and the loan companies do it the way they do it is because the federal government tells them they have to do it that way. Because part of the thing I have to do, too, is I have to go and justify my bank accounts against these filings that I'm doing. So my business banking is lined up. Yes, I agree. So that my business banking is lined up with my whatever this new account is that I just set up.
Yeah.
So that I have my business bank account is now connected to my federal ID business operator, whatever bullshit. I don't like it. It goes back to it is a Benjamin Franklin quote. I looked it up. Someone who give up their liberty for temporary safety will deserves neither and will get none, whatever it is. I looked up that it was a Ben Franklin quote. I didn't look up the exact wording of the quote. I looked up that it was Ben Franklin.
Both of us were pretty certain last week that it was a Benjamin Franklin quote. But we agreed that we didn't remember the preciseness. I just think it's funny that you looked it up to confirm that that's what it was.
In my head,
In my
head, I was stuck thinking. I thought it was a Jefferson quote. Is really what I thought it was the whole time.
And I'd heard it before. Yeah, it's a Franklin quote. Yeah, but I don't remember exactly what it is. Sorry, it amused me. Yeah, I looked it up. Yeah, it was Benjamin Franklin. I still don't know what exactly the quote is, but I have confirmed it was Benjamin Franklin.
Yes, it's absolutely Benjamin Franklin, and it's basically
stories of him being like a big man whore.
Yeah, he's also maybe a serial killer.
I think I'd heard that one.
You haven't heard that one? He had a flat in London for a period of time.
I heard he may have been involved in, I guess, like body trading. in like early medicinal times.
And that's kind of that's kind of where the rumor started, or kind of that was kind of one of the coalescing parts of the rumors. So apparently, a place in London he had rented for a significant period of time was not too distant later, but well after he left, was found to have like a dozen bodies in the basement, or skeletons in the basement, not bodies.
Right, but it was a common practice among
sciencey guys,
sciencing guys, in trying to source bodies for science.
Yeah,
right.
So, which and so like it was one of those. It's a pretty significant leap, but it's not a huge leap. If we leave this part about how like that was not an uncommon practice for people that were curious enough to cut people open. It wasn't that they were killing the people. It's just they wanted to figure out what was inside, and so you'd get freshly dead people and figure out what's inside.
Yeah, that's still a big stretch, though. When you skip over the fact
you
that
just bypass that part and just say, dude used to live there, and 12, 15 bodies showed up a couple days after he left.
Like, oh my god! Like, how did they not figure out it was him? I'm like, well, because 8 of his neighbors were doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it was a semi-normal practice, but
right.
I did. Yes, I had heard that he was a playa. I mean, he was popular in French court, so he had to have something going on because he wasn't a pretty man by any standard.
No. Apparently the ladies love him.
Yeah, he's got to be doing something right. You know what I'm saying? Getting in some.
Some other ones, though, there was a funny story about him being a big man whore and almost causing a big like international scene, I guess. Sure.
What? Oh, the city did kill the ADUs this week.
Say again?
The auxiliary or whatever, the dwelling, like the tiny house in your backyard.
Ah.
You can do it if you live there. If you live in one of them, you can do it. But the owner has to be a resident. So there's a couple different parts and pieces that did pass in it. Like they changed some of the rules on how close to property lines you can be and stuff like that. So they did make ADUs easier to do, but they made it so that it has to be, one of them has to be a resident. Even though one of the functional realities of it is you have to be a resident when you build it and when you get the permit for it. But there's no tracking method to say that you move out and then start renting it the day after you complete construction.
Yeah.
So you can do it, you just have to be a resident at the time of all the paperwork. Well, or you can do it and you can just do it but stay living there. You can live in the main house and rent the tiny house in the backyard, or you can move into the tiny house and rent your big house. I don't know. It goes to be like, I was thinking about this because I was talking to somebody about our trip to Nashville a couple months ago. Like, I don't know. Or my trip to Atlanta with the kid a while back too. It's like, there are parts of some of these major metros that still have neighborhoodishness to them. Like Little 5 Points, which is where the Variety Theater is in Atlanta.
Right.
There's houses not far away, like actual houses, and it's blocks of houses. They're smaller. They're small houses. They're close. They're small properties. The whole kind of whatever, and they're not too far out of downtown. But downtown Atlanta, which is all 5 to 20 something story buildings, is huge. Like it's a huge square foot, like it's a huge amount of square footage that makes up this city, and it's like we're moving that direction. We can't even do the ADUs at this point with the current growth thing that's going on. But it's like, it's got to go somewhere. People are coming. We got to figure this out.
I think one of the things they were looking at was lowering the requirement for, I guess if like you build a building, you've got to have so many allotted parking spaces for it. I was trying to like cut that. Like, okay, if a building is this many stories, you've got to have.
Yeah.
Or if it's ready for this much
they did make it.
occupancy.
I know they did exempt a couple of the ones down on the strip for that. Because that is an issue for sure, and I don't know how to.
It's like I want to build a building this big, but I have to make a parking lot this big as well.
Right.
I can't do it.
But that's why you do the thing. That's why you do the is it the Campus Commons or whatever, that Walmart it's gone downtown. Like I really think like most of Kingston Pike, most of Broadway should be minimum of that. Where
I kind of like the idea, but at the same time, like I hate parking in parking garages as well.
No, I mean you don't like where you don't like the growth anyway. And I'm not saying you don't like the growth. You don't want to live in a city anyway.
No, really.
You know, and so
it would depend on, I guess the area around where I was living. I guess the amenities was close enough. I mean, I like the idea that they tried to do with the whole kind of gay street and kind of revitalization of it, was trying to bring people down there to where I think they were trying to have a couple grocery stores in that area, but there's still not some really close enough to where, you know, you could actually kind of live and, you know, maybe walk to the grocery store, pick up, you know.
Yeah, downtown Knoxville to me still functions on, it is not family friendly in the sense that you're probably going out to eat for dinner more than not.
Yeah.
You're probably going out 3 nights a week for dinner, maybe 4 nights a week for dinner, because you're not cooking at home. Because you don't have food at home, because like I always think about that, like, you know, you see like Seinfeld or whatever in these New York City apartments, which are crazy big in the shows because they're never actually that big in real life.
Well, I mean, a lot of the high-end apartments down there have their own like parking anyways. I mean, I don't see how it would be a huge issue.
But you still don't want to do it, you know. You don't want to park and drive and do. I don't know. That's my take on it. Like, to me, if I was going to live, if I was in a place where I would be down with that lifestyle, the idea would be I'm parking for weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm walking here, I'm walking there, I'm going to the little tiny grocery store and getting enough stuff to cook dinner tonight.
All right, but you've also got the big rise. I don't know how many people actually use it, but you hear it advertised all the time. But, you know, ready-to-eat meals that are, you know, delivered to your door. Yeah.
That, and I mean, you have so many delivery services now.
Here's the box that has everything you need to make this.
It may actually be a happy accident now that I think about it. It may be a happy accident that we don't have a grocery store downtown. Because honestly, I would say a lot of big cities are probably going to start losing them because they're going to go out into little cheaper corners and they're going to all be delivery services.
And some have tried it in bigger cities and it just didn't work out. Mainly because those places were running into, I guess, you know, areas to have a small mini warehouse that you could, you know, do deliveries out of.
I mean, it's no different than your grocery store. It's just, I mean, if anything, it's the same size as your grocery store, and you can hold more stuff. They failed because
they were a startup, so
yeah,
they didn't have that much capital to kind of expand, so they were trying to make enough money to kind of keep it going to expand.
Yeah, yeah.
They were like, okay, never mind, we're in over our head.
It'd be a tough one to get rolling, but I think, you know, the problem with mass delivery when everybody's using delivery services, how do delivery services work in a busy urban environment? Like,
now, they've got, you know, these small warehouses and they've got so much, and trying to keep up with the demand, they've got so much coming in and going out simultaneously.
Like, there's a little business idea, a middleman service for any delivery for a building, right? So I work these 3 buildings downtown, right? Any delivery service comes, you just barely have to stop on the street. I grab the stuff, I run it into the house, so you don't have to try to park and run it into the apartment. I mean, like, realistically,
instead of being a doorman, you're a food man.
Yeah, I got 3 buildings.
Buildings delivery man.
Any of my tech buddies out there, hit me up because we'll see how we got to write that app because it's got to sync up with DoorDash and Instacart and all that stuff as a service of. Because I can see that being a big problem when you get into some of this, some of the larger delivery stuff situations. Just because, you know,
I mean, up in New York, people don't give a shit to double park anyway. Not that I've never really driven around in it.
Yeah, but I mean, we went through there one time and it's awful. But like, I don't know, we only have Gay Street right now. And
I mean, even in, you know, downtown New York City, you still have, you know, tractor trailers doing deliveries. I mean, it's possible. I don't know if they do kind of like Gatlinburg, where you've got to do it between certain hours of the day.
Yeah, I'm sure they have some restrictions on how they're allowed to and not allowed to. Saw a cool video of it, like, because some of those warehouses or some of those buildings and stuff, they have loading docks, like a normal loading dock, except it's recessed into the building because there's nowhere outside to park.
Yeah. And
so it's like this guy backing into a building. And it's like a super sunny day and it's super dark inside. It's like, how do you see where you're going? That's crazy. But it's like, so like once they get and actually hit the dock, like the nose of the truck is like right on the edge of the sidewalk so that people can still walk by and stuff.
All right.
But it's in the building is kind of neat. So, I don't know. Like, I think to me is you canyon Middlebrook, you canyon Kingston Pike, you canyon Broadway, you canyon, you redo all the codes and zoning need to go to that. On Broadway, any property that touches Broadway can go to like 8 stories. And I think I think you have ground level parking and 7 stories above. Not a garage. It's a ground level parking lot. It's just the building is on top.
Doing mixed residential and business, or
yeah. So like first and like floors 1 and 2 are commercial or commercial of some sort, whether it's commercial retail or commercial business office.
I've seen a couple stories recently,
and then you have the top floors of just apartments.
I think I said that I mentioned before with all these like office buildings that you see that are just always out there for rent. It's like actually turning those into residential. And it's complicated getting it rezoned and then some of the codes. But you would think most of those buildings are up to code anyway as far as having working plumbing, fire, and all that kind of stuff.
I heard somebody talk about this too, and I thought they had a very interesting thing that I didn't think of that was very poignant. Where are the bathrooms in an office complex? You don't have them, they're not spread out. Like all the plumbing and stuff like that is like usually like in the center of the building.
Yeah, it's usually on the same area of each floor, yeah.
And so...
But you also have a lot of office buildings that, the executive suite has its own bathroom.
Yeah, but
the corner offices have their own little bathroom.
The ability to retrofit into an apartment is a lot, is I guess the point is, because the building was not designed to have the stuff set that way. It was designed to have all the plumbing and all that stuff in the center of the building.
No, but at the same time, that plumbing was designed to have, 200 people in that building. So it's not too much different than having 200 residents that plumbing is handling.
I'm sure. It's just about...
I get what you're saying as far as placement of where the plumbing is.
Right, as far as spreading it out across to make it, to put, 8 apartments, 10 apartments on one floor.
I mean, they've done it in schools to where, most schools, you've got, one couple like main bathrooms and they're only bathrooms on an entire floor.
Yeah.
They turned schools into large apartment complexes. There was a cool one downtown I had a friend that lived in for a little while. I was like, this place is fucking awesome.
Huh.
It looked like an old, red school brick building, but it was pretty nice apartments. Rooms were huge.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know. A lot of newer schools have, for safety obligation, they have a minimum of like an eye wash station in a lot of different places. High schools.
Yeah, you got to have it in science.
And so you got to have plumbing in a lot of the classrooms. Anyway, I could see that being a decent, a not hugely complicated one to refit in that manner.
But that's what they can do with schools. I don't see why they couldn't do it with some.
It'd have to be. It'd have to be like it certainly couldn't be in a traditional apartment complex. I think that's the pause that.
No, it couldn't be an additional apartment. An additional apartment complex.
Dude, something's wrong with his butt.
But a lot of offices aren't that big. So there are some office buildings to where each office, wasn't intended for a large business to be in there. It's got 4 or 5 rooms that would be office rooms, and they've got 1 or 2 bathrooms in there.
Yeah,
they think that kind of layout could easily translate into a 3-4 bedroom apartment.
Yeah, I don't know, but to me, Knoxville, pretty much inside the 640 loop or Sharps Ridge. It's about the same thing. Inside 640 to the river. It should be as not unrestricted per se, but it should be pretty wide open. You want to buy a piece of I don't know. I don't hate the history. I'm not trying to hate on any of the historical parts and bits and bobs and stuff like that, but we can't keep doing the sprawl game. And so if we're not willing to let an old neighborhood get torn down and turn into a dozen multi-use big ass buildings, I don't see how this is going to work. That's my problem. Like, I know some people that live in some of these old houses in like Old North Knox and Fourth and Gill and stuff like that. And there is some great character and stuff going on in there, and I don't want that to die per se, but I don't know how else we do this. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Oh, well, that, or we just go into all the poor neighborhoods and kick all those people out. We did that in the 60s in this town, and that is still a problem today.
I also think we've got a good bit of, I guess, like semi-abandoned properties that are just super derelict that I don't see why those haven't been reformulated. I don't know if they don't want it's the cost of cleanup, if that's what it is. There.
It's the guy that it's whoever owns the building's problem. And, you know, what instead, like, this becomes the question is, like, does the city need to incentivize them to do something? Because, like, I mean, that's a problem we have in the Holler. There's a number of buildings in the Holler that are just, they're not abandoned. They're owned by some fairly prominent people in town who own a lot of property in about town. And it's just there, boarded up. You know, like, that's the only time I've seen anybody in one of these buildings was he was putting new boards over the windows because the old ones had rotten and fallen out.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I was thinking about it, and, like, you know, I, as a neighbor, want him to fucking do something about it. I don't have the right to make him do anything about it. And so what can I do is what I can do is get all of you guys to come out to Holleroo and spend your money and have a good time and make Happy Holler a more enticing place in the city at large that is going to encourage that building owner to renovate that building because there's commerce happening. The more commerce that's happening, the more he's going to be able to rent that building out to a tenant for.
Is there any incentive?
That's the math.
He pays property value based on, well, it would just be the property, the value itself. Let's say,
yeah, I mean,
maybe they leave it in a shitty conditions because they pay less property tax
absolutely.
As well.
Yeah.
Is that part of it? I think.
Yeah, you do a $5 million renovation because it's you do $5 million in renovation, you're probably $150,000, $200,000 piece of property is now a $5 million piece of property.
Yeah,
according to the assessor's office. And so you go from paying like $65 a year to paying $10,000-$15,000 a year. But you go to paying $10,000-$15,000 a year, but you're renting that place out for $8,000-$9,000 a month.
Yeah,
it's going to pay the loan to do the renovation and your taxes and which is more than the zero you're making off of it just sitting there waiting on it. And that's the game, you know. That's the game these property owners play. Is he's waiting until he's waiting until the right incentives in place. The right incentives is going to be A, somebody walks up to him and says, "Hey, I'll give you X for this piece of property," and he thinks that's a good number and says okay. Or B, he gets lucky and the bums burn it down for him, and then he can build a new building. That's probably part of it too. Like the building that's there may... I
know some of it's just a waiting game to see if anyone else around them built it up that increases his property value.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's the incentive, and like that's part of what this Holleroo is to me. Like one of my back burner goals is to incentivize this one individual to fix his building. Because if we do this and it goes well, the Holler will be on the up and up. More people will be coming down, hanging out, doing stuff, which will encourage more business to come and get involved, which will encourage this building owner to renovate his building because he knows he can then rent whatever he builds this building into for a significant sum.
Yeah.
Which right now, he'd spend $5 million or so renovating this building and get an okay rent out of it, but not enough. But if the business is there and it's Happy Holler is a district and people are going there and it's kind of like Market Square, but not quite as crazy. It's kind of like that kind of business all the time. He'll build it. He will build something there, or he'll sell it to somebody who will. So that's my back burner goal. So if you're down on Anderson off of Central and you see a building getting construction in the next year or so, you're welcome. I did that.
It's all you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and a couple of my friends that are helping me get this event off. I mean, that's the goal. I mean, my goal in Holleroo is to make Happy Holler an entertainment district by ordinance of the city of Knoxville, which gives us leverage to do some other fun stuff down there. But what I want out of this is I want when you've got a cousin coming to town or something like that, they're like, "Hey, we're coming to Knoxville for a couple nights. Where's the cool place to go hang out?" Right now, the true answer is you go to the Old City, you go to Market Square or Gay Street. Like, that's the true answer. You know, like if you're into breweries, I can give you a couple of individual breweries to go to on Central that aren't far from me. But I want the answer to be, hey, I'm coming to town. Where do we go? You can go downtown, you can go to the old city, or you go to the holler. Like, that's what I want the generic answer to. I've got friends in town. Where do I send them? That's my goal. Because I think the stadium, we're about a year from opening day on the stadium. I think once that stadium open, all of what was cool about the old city will be gone, if it's not already.
Well, I think we've kind of been slowly getting to a point where most people just, in general, don't go out as much as we used to.
I do, and there's an overall economic issue at play there. Agreed. 100%.
As far as people can't afford to go out, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think there's a significant amount of economics to go into that issue. Maybe it's a better way to say that.
Well, you can go out and not spend money.
I saw an interesting economics report. The restaurants showing the biggest loss in customer count over the last 9 months, I think, is what this study did. You want to guess? Like, what chain restaurants saw the biggest loss?
I don't know.
It's really good. Denny's, Shoney's, your low-end restaurants, like not fast food, but your low-end restaurants, because those were the ones that the families who, that was their treat to go out once a week, and that's as much as they could pull with their food budget.
Yeah.
And now their grocery budget just to get through the week is taking up all of it, so they don't have any left over, and so those are the ones that lose. So, like, your higher end, more expensive places, they're fine because their clientele could afford it anyway. Regardless, it's not that they're changing prices either. It's just that the people who can't afford or can barely get by on their groceries now can barely get by even less, and so they don't go to Denny's on Sunday. Like, those are the people that are getting the hard squeeze in this whole mess. But anyway, yes, I agree that there. I think between streaming services and our online lifestyle and VR and all that kind of stuff, as that has settled into who we are as a society.
I mean, that in most of these restaurants, if you can afford it, but you can have whatever delivered to you, damn near.
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things at play that are turning. I don't know. I mean, I agree with you, but I don't know. There is something to the human condition that wants random socialization.
Yeah.
Even though you're not socializing with other people, like, even though it's just me and you sitting at a table at a restaurant eating dinner, there is something about being out in the mass that is something that we crave, like, instinctually.
We're a social species.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll tell you what, there's something about just not having to clean up after dinner.
Yeah.
Period. Not even clean up the trash from your delivery of to-go food. I'm talking about just, we're done, we're out. Nothing. Just everything.
No dishes to do.
Everything stays where it is. No dishes, no trash to pick up.
I even get to-go drinks.
And the server in me can't help myself but stack plates and do that stuff. But like, I've consciously tried not to, but I still do it a lot of time anyway. But yeah, I think there's a larger shift at play, but I don't know. That would be a great deep dive into weirdness to get a futurist to look into. Like, are we going to move online and just live online and have everything delivered? It's an option.
I don't think so.
You could, as of right now, you could, if you had some sort of virtual work or remote work or whatever you want to call it. Because, I mean, fuck, Amazon has a pharmacy now. You can get your meds through Amazon.
Yeah.
You could functionally.
What was it? Mark Cuban started his own pharmacy company. Which I've heard pluses and minuses to it already.
I mean, it's just like, they don't do insurance, right? They don't take
it's not their insurance.
They don't take insurance, and it's just it's a fixed markup. It's whatever they pay for the drug plus 10% or whatever.
All right.
Which would be fun to play around on there and just see.
It's going to depend on the different drugs, but some of the quotes I've seen that on average you end up paying more through this service. You're not going through your insurance, but a lot of those drugs, would have qualified because I think a lot of the service it's name brand only. You don't get the generics. Where a lot of the insurance, it would have covered the generics for $10 copay or whatever it would be.
Right, but the question is,
but now you get the name brand for $30, where if you would have just gone through your insurance, I don't know how they
paid
equates out
$750 for the generic. Yeah, there's a lot of questions that
I think it was supposed to be trying to screw over the insurance or the pharmaceutical companies, but in this, I think.
Oh, I thought he was going after the insurance companies.
Yeah.
And the pharmacy proper. So I think one of the things that play is there's
both, because a lot of the pharmaceutical manufacturers have agreements with the insurance companies where the insurance doesn't pay that full amount either.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I think that would be the interesting conversation to look into it as is it's like, well, why is it that when I get my claim from my insurance company for this drug, that they say the drug was $100, my copay was $20. But when I go on to Mark Cuban's thing, he has it listed at $130, which is 10% over what he paid for it. So he was paying as much as I was paying retail. Why is his wholesale the same as my retail?
Yeah.
Because they work that out on the back end, and it's gross. But that's that healthcare conversation we keep hinting at ever having on this show that we don't know shit enough about to actually have the argument.
There's different aspects of it.
I mean, it's just there's a bunch of different entities in all different levels of it that are all playing their own little game, and not many of them. I don't know. It's the base business question for me. What's the product or service, and who is the customer? And I think that's the worst thing about insurance companies, the insurance company, hospital, insurance company, pharmacy relationship, because the patient isn't the customer. 9 times out of 10, the insurance company is the customer. If you're the hospital or the pharmacy, the product or service that you're doing is on behalf of the insurance company, not for the patient. Now, you're doing the service to or for the patient, but the customer in the conversation isn't the same as the patient. And that's where I think it gets dirty quick.
I wouldn't call the insurance the customer in that.
I mean, who's paying?
I mean, depending on it, the customer still could be paying more than the insurance is paying into it.
Right, but the customer's paying more than the insurance is paying into it because the insurance company tells them they have to. I mean, at the end of it, even if the patient is paying a copay or something like that, the reason they're paying that is that's their agreement with their insurance company. So you're still, if you're the pharmacy or whatever, your customer is the insurance company.
Yeah, I'd say probably on a lot of things, the insurance company does pay the facility or whatever directly more money than the patient would be. Well,
but the argument from the insurance company in the first place when they're trying to negotiate prices is I'm bringing you X number of customers.
Right.
And so I care about you. If I'm the pharmacy or whatever, I care about you, the insurance company, because if I don't take care of you, the insurance company, you're going to take all of this business away from me. Which again makes the insurance company my customer, not the patients. That's where I see the problem is. I don't know how to fix that problem, but
I was just remembering that non-insurance company. I made it a point. I was like, we're not insurance, but we pretend to be insurance, kind of.
But we give you discounts on stuff,
and we have bronze and silver plans and these different levels that sound just like copays and deductibles, but we're not insurance. And
right.
You pay them directly, and we'll pay you back. We reimburse you, but you pay the hospital directly and submit your claim to us, and we'll give you some of your money back.
I was interested. I was curious. It was worth a look at, but I could see how it does not feel right. For sure. What was that thing called? I don't remember what that company was called.
My old roommate had a funny story about it. He's like, they operate out of an office that I work at, and I heard them telling people oh yeah, I'm here in Washington State or whatever.
I mean, I'd say all call centers do shit like that,
possibly.
But what was I going to say? Yeah, it was basically like a crowdsourcing insurance, is what it was kind of acting like. That's what it was trying to. That's how it perceived or presented
I
itself.
mean, they were doing kind of like what insurance companies do and try to lump people together into a group per se.
Yeah, and wield the power of the group against the supplier.
Yeah.
And whatever. I don't know. What else do we have going on? I feel like there was a couple other things and I forgot what I was going to say. Ogle killing Palestinian children.
Did you read that one article I sent you about RFK's funding?
No, that was 2-3 weeks ago, man.
Was it? No, I don't think it was that long ago.
We talked about it at the end of last week's episode. Because the big weirdism in it is that that a donor got reimbursed.
Yeah.
In mid-campaign. It's not uncommon that donors get reimbursed post-campaign. It's very uncommon that they get reimbursed in the middle of a campaign.
Right. So it was normal. Occasionally you
Right.
get
So
to the
basically
end
what
of-
they were doing was they were saying, like, they're buddies of some sort with RFK or somebody involved in it. And so basically what they're doing is like, here's $5 million. And then you can go and tell people that you got $5 million in your war chest, and that'll get more people to donate. And then you can give me my $5 million back. It's not like one of the part of it, and again, it is weird that the early payback. But like I think Book was the one that they were talking about a couple weeks ago. Book's got put like $15,000. He loaned his campaign $15,000, and so he's out fundraising and campaigning, and basically just paying himself back. And that's a normal process. People do that all the time. Now, that is the candidate doing it, which is a little different than a third-party donor, but, you know, I don't know. What's the point? Like, you're giving the donation to support the candidate? Well, I can give a temporary donation to grease the wheels to get the process started. One of the number one things when I was bartending, one of the number one things you do as a bartender, as soon as you start your shift, you put a couple dollars in the tip jar.
Right.
Because when people see dollars in there, they're like, oh, that's the tip jar. I need to put some dollars in there, too.
I used to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you put a couple dollars in the tip jar. That's essentially what this guy did for the JFK PAC. He put a bunch of dollars in the tip jar.
I think it'd also be a good way to make sure your campaign has money. So if you kind of get to the end of it and you're like, I mean, like, you guys had money. Don't tell me you couldn't, like, print some flyers, go out, knock on some doors. Like, I just gave us $15,000 to, like, go out and do shit. You can't be like, well, we didn't have any money to do this or this.
Which one are you talking about? A Book one?
Yeah, of someone that
right, again,
puts their own personal money
on the campaign side. But I'm just saying, like, that, like, loaning to campaigns is not like candidates loaning to their own campaign is not an uncommon practice. I would assume that if that is a legal practice, I would assume that other people could, like, non-candidates could do that as well. I wouldn't see why it would be illegal for me to. I'm going to donate $10,000 to your campaign. Rephrase that. I'm going to loan $10,000 to your campaign. But when you collect $10,000 in donations to your campaign, you're going to pay me back. You're still going to have $10,000 for your campaign, but my $10,000 is going to make it look like you're legit, which is going to make it easier for you to take donations. It's the same thing I'm running into.
It may be a little different as far as like how the FEC sees it. Federal Election Commission would see it.
I don't know what the rules are.
I would think it would be slightly different from, you know,
Not to
your
bring
personal money going into the campaign versus a third party's money coming into the campaign.
I mean, it's just a game. I mean, that's just.
You probably still got to report it, but I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I assume it is legal. I mean, I assume I assume it is a legal action that people can do in campaigning, whether it's a candidate donating to their or loaning to their campaign or a third party.
Yeah, I think as far as what was done with this person or entity or PAC or whatever that gave money to RFK, I don't think there was anything illegal about it. Like, the story was just made like, this is really weird. Like, we never heard of this, of, you know, a donor donating money, but then also getting it back, like you said, mid campaign, and then we're talking about like tens of millions of dollars,
right?
Not just like, hey, here's $50,000.
Yeah, but again, I like in the game of campaigns, I could see how, as a candidate or a PAC, that when you say, "Look, I've already got this much in campaign funds. I need your help getting me to X." I could see that being a potent fundraising technique, and probably a very normal fundraising technique. You know, there's $50 or there's $10 million there's $10 million worth of belief in what I'm doing. Throw me $100. Throw me $5,000. Throw me whatever. Help me finish this thing off. And again, just like I made this stupid tip jar joke, but I think it's exactly
more
that.
To give that candidate more gravitas.
Yes, exactly. And that gravitas, therefore, it makes it easier for them to fundraise moving forward. And so I don't want to actually donate $5 million to your campaign, but I want to help your campaign a lot. So I'm going to let you hold on to $5 million so that it looks like you're getting that. So you get that gravitas that helps you raise money on your own. Because that first one is the hardest one, right?
I just don't like, I guess, the dishonesty of it. If you're going to...
Oh, my God.
I mean, if you're going to be upfront about it, that's one thing. Of like, hey, we've got this money for the campaign if we need it, which isn't really going to...
You take exception to dishonesty in campaigning? I mean... That's all they do. Like that's the whole. It's
okay. I should just be okay with it then.
I'm not saying you should be okay with it.
No. I should push my ethics to the side, and just that's just campaigns.
No, I apologize. You're right. I apologize because this is your version of something that I go on random spiels about, and you're right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If you don't feel good about it, you don't feel good about it. You are allowed to complain about it. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Anyway, as I was just trying to say,
what were you trying to say?
I just don't care for the dishonesty of it as far as leading the people you're trying to get to vote for you of like, hey, we've got all this money that we're able to do this and this and this.
Right, and we need your help to finish. We need your help to finish. We need your help to finish.
Well, not really, and asking for money, but in that illusion that I am a viable candidate and I have this much in my war chest when I don't really have that money in my war chest. Like I've got a check that I get to hold on to that I can't cash.
Right.
That I have to give back to the guy here next week.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. I get it. Like,
especially of someone in his current standing, where he is I wouldn't quite call him a viable candidate, but he is a candidate that's grasping at still trying to get more and more backing.
But I think that
more support,
I think that's probably why we see such an unusual version of it. It's because they're trying to figure out how to do something that the system is not okay with. I mean, when's the last time we had a non D or R candidate have any real gravitas? Perot, and that was self-funded, right?
Nader had a decent campaign. I think he ended up with like 3% or something, but not great.
I mean, okay, I'll clarify my question. When's the last time we had a double-digit third-party candidate?
I'm not even sure. Did Perot get that?
Yeah, he got like 20%. And so it's like, and that was a self-funded campaign, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And he was some oil tycoon.
Yeah.
And it's like, so like the only way you can break through in the third-party model to get in even into the double-digit percentage vote range is to be a billionaire and self-fund. Like names we know, like Nader. 3%, 4%. Like I don't think we've had a third party. I don't think we've had a combined non-major two-party candidates in any cycle that have combined for over 5%.
Yeah.
And there are names we know in there, like Jill Stein. Not that she'd had a great campaign by any stretch of the imagination or anything like that. Joe Jorgensen, my last Libertarian Party candidate. What was the one before that?
Howie.
No, Johnson.
No, Gary Johnson.
Yeah, Gary Johnson, the big old stoner that he is. And then his running mate, who's just really an old school Republican, but which that leaves me open to why the Libertarians might let Kennedy on their ballot because what was his name? It's Gary Johnson and Gary something. It was two Garys. He's from Arizona. He's a Republican. He was an elected Republican governor of the state of Arizona or something like that prior. He was a Republican for most of the time. Now he was a more
Bill Richardson maybe?
No, Bill something though. You're right. Bill Weld. Anyway, I get where you're coming from, and I don't disagree with the dishonesty issue. But I guess to me, it's like, how do you break it? Like, how do you break? Like, I mean, realistically, how do we break this conundrum that we're in, especially this cycle? Like 80-something% of Americans polled in multiple polls do not want this election. Period.
No, but I mean, Trump did well enough in 2016 of coming out and being the quote unquote alternate non-politician
Republican.
Drain the swamp. Right. He ran as a Republican, but I mean, he came as a non-traditional.
He's not a Republican.
He was an avowed non-traditional politician.
Sure. But a non-traditional politician, but that, I mean, it still doesn't break the partisanshipness. I mean, I will say at least Trump has broken the Republican Party, but it is not as broken the bipartisan mess that we're in.
No,
it just changed what A and B mean.
Dug it in even harder.
And he changed what A and B mean. Like, I mean, Democrats aren't the same as they were in being anti-Republican. I
don't think there's as much discourse in the Democratic Party as there is in the Republican Party right now.
I agree with that. I'm just saying, but Democrats at large have changed. The Democratic Party has changed as a result of the Republican Party's adjustment to Trump.
Yeah,
like
it's going to have that reactionary,
right? And
so I mean, seen as being ineffective and not doing something.
To get all deep and philosophical, like there's a real yin yang action going on between the two of them. As one shifts, the other shifts around. I mean, and even in demographics, like they talk about this when they go into all this different polling and stuff that's going on. Like Biden is specifically unpopular with Muslim Americans right now.
All right.
Guess why? He's specifically unpopular with young Democrats. Same reason. Now, does that mean they're going to vote for Trump or not? But like Trump specifically, he shifted in what the demographics of the Republican Party were. Is you have a bunch of like the Republicans used to like lean on college educated white males as their core like voting base, like and blue collar workers were traditionally Democrats, and since Trump kind of got on the scene, blue collar, especially white blue collar workers, are now staunch Trump Republicans that used to be Democrats, and so like the parties are like the demographics inside the parties are shifting, but equally shifting to each other, I guess is the kind of point I'm getting to. And so if that's what's happening, and you're trying to come into some weird wedge in the middle, being this Kennedy character, and these two things are shifting around the way they shift around, but they're also in mutually assured destruction mode. They know that they only exist if the other one exists to counter them. How do you get in between that? And that's my argument for the third party in the first place, is that this thing is it's the whole uniparty, the two wings of the same bird. There's all sorts of different analogies people put for it.
Two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. They only exist because the worst thing the Republicans ever did was overturn Roe v. Wade. That was one of their best campaign things, because anti-abortionism is a conservative value.
Yeah. And
when they didn't have it, it was something they could run on. But now that they have it, they can't run on it anymore, but the Democrats can run on getting it back. And so in the same way I said they would never overturn Roe v. Wade, I feel like the Democrats, even with the right opportunity and combination of things in place, they're not going to put it back in place either. Because they win elections by saying they're going to fix the abortion issue. And if they ever fix it, just like the Republicans find out, they're not going to keep winning elections.
I don't know if I see that. I think they're going to work just as hard to try to reverse as conservatives did in trying to overturn it. Because eventually,
I don't think they were. I don't think Republicans really were. I think the idiot that is Trump is the only reason it happened. Is Trump went and got his judges because he promised he would, and for some reason he followed through on that promise. I think the true Republican elite, which Trump sure as shit isn't one of, hate Trump for his justices because of this. I think the top brass in the Democratic Party are loving it because of how much money they're going to raise in funds and campaigns and all the different shit that they do, and how many candidates are going to win races for it. And there's no incentive for them to actually fix it, because if they fix it, they don't get elected again. Ask Trump.
But at what point are you considered ineffective? How long does... When's the last time we thought anything about the federal government was effective?
They've been ineffective for a decade. That's normal. I think. I think the Republican Party is shifted to school stuff and trans issues because they don't have abortion anymore. That's why school stuff and trans issues are coming out front. Because they can't run on keeping abortion illegal. They can't run on, I guess they could run on codifying it to make it illegal in other states, in all states, in all reasons, and eggs and all that kind of shit like Alabama has. But, they're not winning those states anyway, so they don't care. They're not going to win they're not going to win in New York or California. It doesn't do them any good to go any further. It didn't do them good to get where they are, is my point. It actually failed them miserably. And the Democrats have the same issues on other stuff. They both do it. Trump did it again.
I don't know how long ago the GOP started trying to fight and trying to change some of the healthcare abortion-related laws.
I think it's better. I think it's been around on some level since the 70s. When did like actual abortion and like contraception? That's always been a thing. Like,
right.
We're trying to ban contraception. Trying to think of what else.
I'd say throughout time they've done it more so just at the state level where they had more majorities.
Well, yeah, because that breaks down that other. That's the other sub part of it is how the government is supposed to work, kind of thing too. But I think that, but again, it goes to like our Herrera thing. You don't have to campaign on what you can actually do.
Right.
You campaign on issues that animate people, and if it animates them, then you can get them to vote for you, even though it has nothing to do with what you actually do. So, which to me, that's, I don't know, to finish off with the Herrera thing. It's like, why? You want to win you want to win. Okay. I want to win when I do things too. But if there's only two options that make sense, either that's not something you can actually do anything about in the seat.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that I hope it was just his PR person.
Dude, this is county race.
Dude, you want to win?
He is the PR person. He was the former chair of the party. He is the PR person. That's what the party chair's job is.
I assume they had.
He might have. He might. He might have Eric Wader or whatever on his team or whatever. It's very possible, but even if it is his PR person, he knows better. He knows how campaigning works. He's run a bunch of campaigns.
Yeah.
And so he knows that even if he's handing off the duties to a PR person, he knows that PR person is saying things that he has to follow through on. And it should be his due diligence to make sure it's something he could follow through on. So there's only two options. Either he doesn't know he doesn't know that it's something he can't do anything about. I doubt. Or he knows he's lying. Neither one are very good sales pitches to me. Same thing with my Elaine Davis issue when she came out and did my scout thing. If you want something to go on in your schools, this is the person to talk to. No, your school board's important. You're wrong, lady. You're just wrong. And there's only two reasons you're allowed to be wrong right now. You're lying or you don't know any better.
Right.
And neither of those are good. And that's the long and short of it to me. And they don't give a shit. So we do what we do. You got some news for us? I know you've been sandbagging a few here and there. Ooh, I hit the wrong button.
Got caught at border with pythons in his pants. New York City man fined and sentenced to probation.
I got a python in my pants, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was coming.
So that's why you picked the story. Get on me for finishing the joke.
A news alert pop up. New York City man admitted to smuggling 3 Burmese pythons in his pants through a U.S.-Canadian border crossing.
Okay, different. Okay.
Sentenced Wednesday to a year of probation and fine $5,000, federal prosecutors said. Crossing into New York, hidden snakes on a bus from Montreal to New York City.
Fucking French Canadians. God damn it.
Quebecians. Quebecois.
I don't know if there's a worse combination of people. French Canadians. I think I already did as best I can do with that one, is making the Python in my pants joke. So,
got a lawmaker seeks official pronunciation of, I guess, Concord or Concord, New Hampshire's capital city.
Yep, that's important. That's what we need to spend our time fucking giving a shit about.
Yeah. I can see it to an extent. I mean, that is literally your identity, is to, especially a state capital. It's not just like some small town. Like, we're getting, the 500 people, me in this small town, are getting tired of everybody saying the name wrong. Like, we're going to formalize it. But I mean, if it's a state capital,
and never mind. I won't do it. So what does it mean? Like, I don't want to do it because you're gonna get mad. I don't want to get you mad about it. But like,
what?
So okay, what
does it mean?
Here's the correct legal way to pronounce Concord. So is it a crime now to say it wrong? Like, that's what.
No, they're not. You automatically jump to, they're making laws against how you can say a fucking city. Bureaucracy is at its worst. No. I mean, this is not them making a legal standard of how you can and cannot say the name. They're just trying to officially recognize
the right way to say it.
Yes.
I guess
it just being like, hey, this is how this. They're not going to be like, you said our name wrong. 10 hours of community service.
Okay. To make fun of my own, who's the victim in this? No, not to. I'm just no. Let me take that back, because I'm not the victim in this, because I am not a resident of whatever state Concord's from. But your tax dollars, wherever you guys are, where is Concord? Michigan, Maine, Massachusetts.
There's some throughout the U.S. This one was specifically talking about New Hampshire.
Yeah, your tax dollars got spent on making sure that nobody really knows the correct pronunciation. Like, to what? Like, what's the like? It's the same thing as like, like I could get behind some of the stupid official state X. Like we have an official state bird and state cow or state whatever. Like, I can get behind that because there's some tourism play to it to some extent. But it's a waste of fucking time. I don't want to. I don't like.
Well, here's a good quote. These are symbols by which you are recognized, and branding is actually something that organizations take really seriously and spend a lot of money on.
Sure. So what's the correct pronunciation?
I'm not sure what they say.
Because you got to read it, and it doesn't have it broken.
Well, I mean, they talk about that there's a place in North Carolina, there's a place in other states, and how it is different throughout the U.S.
Then change your name so it's like it's somebody else's name.
Sure.
I mean,
they should officially change the name of a capital city. You want to make fun of them for trying to make an official pronunciation of it.
That is how absurdly stupid the whole conversation is that if your issue is that there is a Concord and a Concord and a Concord and a Concord in other states, and we want to make sure everybody knows which one ours is, by making sure you pronounce it correctly. Let's just call it Philston. We're trying to brand it. One of the things you do in branding is do something that nobody else has. Man, I'm pissing you off tonight. I love you, man. I feel like in the last couple episodes, it's just been me apologizing to you. I love this. I enjoy this. It is not that I'm trying to hurt you.
I just don't understand how you can take this. This is just a silly, funny story, and you want to jump to what the fuck is their problem?
I didn't jump to that. I said, what's the fucking point?
These are all just funny stories.
Okay.
You want to take it as just this government bureaucracy at its worst.
I don't feel like that was where my voice went at all.
No, that's an exaggerated version of it. But I felt like that's where it was going. You definitely sound like you're getting annoyed at this.
I do find the general principle of that kind of shit out of government at large annoying. Yes. I
give you other examples of us doing stupid shit.
Hey,
let's codify making the Bible our state book.
No, that's
a waste of fucking time.
No, that's profoundly problematic.
I agree with that as well. But
yes, having an official state book is stupid. It's a waste of fucking time. The fact that somebody spent an hour putting ink to paper to write the bill that says the official state book of Tennessee is to kill a mockingbird or whatever, because of whatever reason, is a waste of fucking time. And if we're going to sit here and if I'm going to sit here, especially because we do, okay, if we're going to stay in Tennessee on it, if I'm going to sit here and bitch about how many bills, how ridiculous the number of bills that we're supposed to try to keep up with as a populace, and how much is going on and how much they squeeze into such a little window of time is problematic, I've made that complaint 1,000 times, then yes, one of those being a stupid waste of fucking time bill on how to properly pronounce Nashville, I'm going to pitch a fit about. Because you know what you could be doing instead of talking about how to properly pronounce Nashville is figuring out maybe, I don't know, some mass transit system that makes a bit of fucking sense in our state, or figuring out some healthcare shit, or getting our education system better. You could be spending your time on that instead of the state stone fruit of Tennessee. It's a waste of fucking time, energy, and money. And we're supposed to be like, oh yay, we're now the pear state. Woohoo! Pears aren't even stone fruits. I don't know why I said that. Apricots. We're the apricot state, even though it has nothing to do with anything. But you know what? We spent probably $1 million in fucking tax money trying to figure out what to call it. So now we're the apricot state. Congratulations, everybody. We still can't figure out how to, keep half our citizens alive and fed and any of that kind of shit. That's why it gets me mad. Because it just piles on the same set of bullshit.
Cool.
Rant over. One more. Let's keep it light. One more. Give me something to keep it light on. Just keep the government out of them.
Motorist in England calls police to report he's too drunk to drive.
Good on you, mate.
Police in England say a drunken driver did the right thing after doing the wrong thing.
I mean, why did he call it? Like, was he driving when he called?
I think this is prior to drive. Well, see here. Man calls police to report that he is a drunk driver. Police said using the... Oh, I forgot they call them drink drivers, so I thought it's kind of cool. They call it drink driving.
They also call, if you're sleeping outside and homeless or whatever, they call it a rough night.
Huh.
I learned that on Jeopardy today.
Let's see, the 52-year-old man was in a van on the side of the road. A breath test revealed he was 3 times over the legal limit. He was arrested Monday and held in custody and released after being charged Tuesday with drunken driving in Harrogate Magistrates Court.
So he got arrested for drunk driving?
Yeah.
After the fact. So he called in on himself and they arrested him for it?
Yeah. Because he was pulled over on the side of the road and so he can be like, I walked to my car from here, and then when I got in my car, like I left my car here like yesterday, and then I walked back to get it, and I was drinking on the way to go get my car, and then I got my car and realized that I was too drunk. They're like, no, you've been driving your car, your engine's warm. Well, yeah, but
so wait, he called him? I'm confused. I'm so confused.
He called on himself. He called.
So
I think theirs is like 411.
So he was driving and he pulled over?
Or 999, I think, is there like 911.
I'm so confused. He pulled himself over? And you know what? I'm too drunk to drive. I'm going to call the police.
Yeah, at some point,
call Bobby.
He called dispatch or whatever, called emergency services number.
It's a weird story. I'm confused.
That's stories of the weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, why?
We talked about the stingray, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Impregnated itself?
Talked to a couple people. Like, it's got to be shark stingray babies. And I was arguing with somebody about that the other day. And I'm like, no, they are completely different species. I was like, it's not possible. They're
it's just
like,
us mammals.
No, it's possible. And I'm like, no. And I actually found like an interesting story that actually they went back and like, broke down. They're like, these split like 400 million years ago or whatever.
I mean,
they're like, it basically would be like a dog and a cat trying to mate. Like, it doesn't happen. Like, they will not. The DNA does not match up closely enough to make a new species.
I don't know. Like, when did the lion and the tiger split?
That was an example given, but they're more closely related than a stingray and a shark.
I mean, I thought that they're under the same phylum or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many phylums there are, but or when they split. I mean, it's also like sea creatures, and they are older than most land animals. And mammals are weird,
Right.
Because mammals can't self-impregnate ever, except once.
Sure.
I mean, the Immaculate Conception is a common myth in many, not just in Christian mythology. That is a fairly common myth.
Yeah, some would argue that Christianity stole that from many other previous religions that had the same Immaculate Conception.
We had an argument about names. We were discussing names or whatever, and it's like my parents tell me they named me after a Bible character, Seth, who was like the seventh son of Abraham. I lived for 700 something years. I begot a bunch of kids.
Right.
One kid that was worth naming in the Bible, and then I begat a bunch more. And then I died 100 and something years later. But Seth is derived from Egyptian. Set, who is the god of the dead, their version of the devil, or the Hephaestus, or any of your other ancient mythology underworld caretakers.
Yeah.
That's where my name comes from. Thanks, Mom.
Yay.
Didn't think I'd find out. Yeah, one more, you done?
Weird story, interesting story. The astronomers found what may be the universe's brightest object. It's a black hole that devouring the equivalent of a sun a day.
Oh, I thought it was your sweet, sweet smile. A black hole that is devouring the in mass. It's big
of a sun a day.
But it's the brightest? I don't understand. It's a black hole.
Yeah. Record-breaking quasar shines at 500 trillion times brighter than our sun.
But it's a black hole.
Well, I'm assuming that's like, I think the quasar is the edge of it. Not 100% sure.
Yeah, I don't know how that shit works.
Yeah, the black hole powering this distant quasar is more than 17 billion times more immense than our sun.
It's got to be pretty big. Yeah.
It resembles a mere dot in images. Scientists envision a ferocious place. Yeah. What? Yeah.
Envision, sounds like a good way to go. Sounds like it'd be pretty quick.
Rotating disk around the quasar's black hole. Yeah, luminous swirling gas and other matter from the gobbled up stars is like a cosmic hurricane. This quasar is the most violent place that we know in the universe. Yay!
Oh, there's some jokes to put in there. All right, everybody. Bright quasars, people. Almost Agreement at gmail.com, on Facebook, on Twitter, and YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. Check out what we're going there. You hit a link to the Hollaroo website, hollaroo.co, Happy Hollerfest 24. Go there, sign up to race your derby car down Central with us. It'll be a good time. April 13th, all day long. We're going to shut the street down. We're going to have a big old party. You should come join us. It'll be good, ridiculous fun. Almost Agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to your favorite podcast provider. Get us all the likes and loves and whatever you can figure out there. And tell your friends about us. Text it to them. Tell them to listen to me piss Sam off, and Sam get mad at me for asking the same questions over and over again. And I get mad at him for asking the same questions over and again. That's what we do. But every once in a while we stumble across some sort of understanding of something. Anyway, almost here, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to y'all soon.